Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Reagan and today we're here to talk about study abroad, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you probably know that already from clicking on today's video. I wanted to make this video because I feel like whenever I hear people talk about study abroad, I hear people talk about all the positives, and there are a lot of positives, and we're going to talk about that today in today's video. But there are also a lot of negatives that I don't really hear people talk about, and I wanted to hear someone talk about the negatives. I just think that both sides need to be talked about, and I feel like I never hear anyone talk about the cons. So today we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons that I've come up with about studying abroad and why maybe you should and why maybe you shouldn't. I have my water bottle. I'm here to yap your little head off. This is going to be a chatty video. So a little bit about me and my qualifications on why I can tell you about this, because I studied abroad last semester. I studied abroad in Paris, France. I was doing a lot of language studies there. I was essentially just studying French, which I absolutely loved. I wanted to be fluent in French since as long as I can remember, honestly. And I always knew that I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to do this. I wanted to learn the language immersively. I don't really have any attachment to it anymore, so I guess I can give you like where I lived and everything. I lived in the 11th arrondissement, and I lived in a like student housing building called Estudine. I was taking classes at the Catholic University in Paris, mainly based in either the 5th or the 6th, but I really love that area. And then there will be a section at the end of this video for like my specific recommendations on where you should go if you're studying abroad in Paris and if you're in that area. We're gonna start with the pros because that's the order I have it written down in. Number one is to travel. I got to go so many different places, and so many places that I like dearly love and are like my favorite places on the entire earth now. That is a huge pro. If you are looking to travel, study abroad is a great option and way to be able to travel, especially if you're going to Europe. I do want to say about travel, it can be really expensive. I saved up a lot of money to travel. I would say that I wasn't like the most traveled person in my program. A lot of people did a lot more traveling than me. And if we're gonna go over finances, me personally, I saved up, I'm gonna tell you this number and it's gonna sound insane. I saved up about $10,000 to do my study abroad experience. That included my food, that included I wasn't paying for my housing and my like tuition, which I was very lucky for that. But I was paying for my transportation, my travel, that kind of stuff, anything I wanted to buy while I was there, like personal goods, just like the cost of living. And I came back with about $1,000 left. I don't remember every single place that I went, but I'll try and list out the places that I did go, and you can kind of get an idea of how much this amount of money that I saved up kind of got me. My biggest, longest, probably most expensive trip was going to Ireland. Ended up staying at a hostel in Dublin, and we traveled like around the Irish coast for about a week. We went to Bray, we went to Cork, we went to Blarney. That was probably, I'd say, my most expensive trip that I went on. I also went to the south of France when it got towards May, and we did a beach trip there. That was like a 3-day trip, and we took an overnight bus there, which was a little bit kind of crazy, but it was cheap, very tiring, so we did have to like sleep on the bus overnight, but it was fine. I went to Amsterdam, we went to Brussels. Brussels was a program trip, so that was prepaid in my tuition that I paid for the trip to Brussels already, so I didn't have to pay for that. We went to a few different like cities in France, so those were like day trips kind of. We went to Giverny and a few others that I'm kind of like forgetting. I went to Greece, but I did go to Greece with my parents, so that was like our vacation over summer, so that wasn't something that I paid for. I went to the UK with my grandparents, so that was partially paid for by me and partially them. That was a whole situation because I actually ended up missing my first train because I forgot my suitcase, and then I had to go home, get my suitcase. I almost made it on my first train, but I had to go through customs because I was going to the UK and I didn't make it, so I had to buy another ticket. But that was like probably a really expensive mistake, but I did that. Point is that you can travel a lot. I don't want to say it's cheap because it's not cheap, but it is cheaper to travel there than it is in the US, I would say, if you do it right. Like the bus that we took to the south of France cost us like 30 euro. It was like hell, really, but it was cheap, and you could get a lot of different places like that for a lot less money than you can get in the US. The thing about my experience is that I was with a program, so a lot of our weekends were planned out and taken up. They told us to not plan anything before we went, and so I wasn't able to like pre-book a lot of stuff until I got to France, so that made it a little more expensive, because if you have the ability to like really book out your trips in advance before you even enter Europe, it would probably be a lot cheaper, but we didn't have that ability. I would recommend getting like a backpacking bag, a really good one. My sister got one for me for Christmas from like Walmart or something. One thing that they don't tell you about Europe, or that I didn't know, is that you don't get a free bag on flights. In the US, you get like a carry-on bag. Carry-on bags are free of charge. That is not the case when you're flying in Europe. Any flight you take, budget, not budget, you have to pay for a cabin bag. Anything as small as a purse, like literally anything you take on that flight, you have to pay for. So if you're bringing like a small suitcase, that's like 60 extra euros sometimes, depending on the flight that you take. Something you need to think about when you're thinking of like, do you want to travel a lot? Make sure you know what to pack and how, like what your flight or what your travel accommodation really allows you to take and bring. We're gonna move on from travel. I could talk like for hours about this, and if you want more in-depth thoughts about this, I can make like some short reel videos style videos about that. Next, we're gonna go into the language aspect. So I obviously went to a country that didn't speak my language. This is a pro because I got so much practice. My French got a lot better. I entered this experience being at probably around an A2, beginner A2 level, and I ended up leaving at a B1 level, and I got a certificate as well. I had been taking French for probably like 4 years before I went to this experience on and off. So I took some in high school, I took a large break, and I started over pretty much in college. And I had taken it for like 2 years consistently before I went abroad. And this, I felt like, really gave me more confidence. I think the thing always with language is like, I was bad at speaking it. I could read it, I could write it. I couldn't speak. This made me like so unscared of speaking in front of people. Everything about my French increased, improved, it got so much better because I was studying in a place that spoke my language, and it really forces you to get out of your comfort zone. Now, in Paris specifically, people say that they don't want to speak French with you. They aren't very nice, blah, 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 all these things about Parisians. And I'm going to say I didn't have that experience. Very rarely, if I spoke French to someone, would they switch to English, which I don't know if that was like who I ran into, where I was going, if my accent was good. Like, I don't know what or why that is. I was told a lot that my accent was pretty good, like for an American. So I think it might have been that, if I'm gonna be honest. But like, I rarely ever got switched to English with. Like, a lot of people say that that's a constant thing that happens to them in Paris. I did not have that experience. Everyone was very kind. I don't know if that was them trying to get a tip or like whatever. That is kind of a big question mark in my head as to why that happened. But I will say, like, my French got really a lot better. And if you're trying to study a language and you have an opportunity to study abroad somewhere, don't be scared. Go to the place that speaks your language. It will do a lot for you. It's gonna be super discouraging at some points. It's gonna suck. Like, you're gonna be so tired, but do it. It's so worth it. It helps like a lot. The next pro I have is kind of similar. It's like gaining cultural understanding and knowledge. I got to travel so many places, and that gives you a certain cultural understanding at some points. Like, traveling, you're not really living as that culture. Studying abroad somewhere gives you the opportunity to long-term live in a different country and really immerse into that culture. So I can't speak to Irish culture because I didn't study abroad in Ireland. I can go there, I can learn all about it through museums, through tours, like meeting people, but you don't really know the culture and the environment and the knowledge of the place until you live there. Living there is the only and best way to do that. I learned so much, and it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. That is like part of the experience, picking up new things, picking up new perspectives, talking to different people. That is probably one of my favorite things that I gained from this experience as a whole. Immersion. That is the number one way and the only way to learn a language and deeply understand another culture. I believe it firmly. Not the only way, but the only way, foolproof way. Number 4. This is going to be in the pros and the cons section. It feels like a vacation and not real life. This is a pro because my college experience is generally not that hard. I'm very lucky. I don't have a super stressful college experience, but going abroad, it really does feel like a vacation. You're not in your real life. You know, at the end of this, you're going back home. You're going back to wherever you came from, and you have to continue that real life. So a pro of that is like, whatever you do here kind of doesn't matter. I mean, it matters. You can reinvent yourself on vacation. You can reinvent yourself studying abroad. You are a new person because this is not your real life. No one else knows you. That's kind of a pro that I would say. Now, this also goes for the con, and we'll talk about that when I get to the cons. The last pro that I had, number 5, is food/digestion. We're going to get a little gross here for a second, and I'm going to say some things that I never thought I would say on the internet, but I think that this is important to say. Everyone knows, they always talk about food in Europe, it's better. It's better, it's better, it's better. And I say that's true for the most part. There's some things that I couldn't live in Europe because I don't have them. But for the most part, the food there, I never had a meal that I was like, yeah, that was okay. It was always very good. Maybe it was the places I was going. Like, I don't know what it was, but I never had a meal that I was like, meh. I even had Wingstop there, and Wingstop was better than in the US. The digestion part of it is I never had any stomach issues before leaving the US. I have a pretty strong stomach. Like, I really never have, knock on wood, those issues. Now, what I did discover when I came back from study abroad was that I didn't know how much it had changed my digestive system until I came back. This is, again, I can't believe I'm going to say this on the internet. My foods didn't smell. And I had way less of them. But when I came back here, that returned to normal. Like, not bad, they just smell like a bar. It was so weird. I didn't know how much the American food was affecting my digestion because I always thought like, oh, I don't really have stomach issues. I have a pretty strong stomach. I can handle lactose. I can handle gluten. I don't really have any issues with that. I just never thought it was really affecting me until I went somewhere else. So that was interesting to find out, interesting to learn about. Now we're going to move into the cons, which I feel like people don't talk about as much, and I think it's important for people to know about. Number one con, I went with a program, so I went with other American students, even from my own state. And even still, studying abroad can get very lonely. I feel like while I was there, I didn't meet anyone that I really, really clicked with. Like, I had friends, but I didn't feel like they were like lifelong friends that I would keep forever. Like, I didn't really find those people there. A lot of people do, and I see that a lot online. Like, they found their forever friends studying abroad, and that's amazing, and I wish that for everyone. I, however, didn't have that experience, and I'm not like upset about it. They just weren't my people, and the people that I was around in my program, they just weren't my people. They were very nice, and like, I had a fun time with them while we were there. For that reason though, it was pretty lonely. I love being alone. I generally here don't have an issue with being alone ever at all. In the US, was a person who I prefer being alone, quite honestly, a lot of the time. Now, when you're in a different country, it hits a little bit different. I didn't know what loneliness was until I studied abroad, like low-key, because you have your family or your friends or whoever's around you, and you can be alone, like physically, like no one's around. You're happy doing your alone time thing. Like, you don't need to be on the phone with anyone. You don't need to text anyone, whatever. Not having the option at all, a little bit different. A little bit different. You haven't seen those people in months. You feel, at least I felt, so lonely. And it taught me a lot about myself. Like, I'm not saying this is completely a negative. Like, it definitely sucked, but I learned a lot. It was a hard moment that I had to get through, but I learned how to deal with it. And I think it like taught me things, and it was a valuable time, but damn, it was lonely. I wanted to cry and go home. Like, that definitely happens. My second con kind of really goes into this, like, pretty much directly. I don't know why I made them two separate bullet points, but friends. Like I said, a lot of people find their forever friends studying abroad. I did not. Some people don't. I think that's what a lot of people you don't see online, is people talking about how they didn't find that or have that experience. At first, it was hard because I felt like I was supposed to be having this like intense bonding experience with these people, and I just didn't. Like, it kind of was hard at first to reconcile, like, for the first month. The second part of this is I missed my friends from home a lot because I'm like in the group chat and I'm like seeing all these texts come through and they're doing something this weekend and whatever, and I miss them like a lot. And as much as, you miss your family and whatever, I didn't know how much I would like have FOMO for my friend group back at home while I was doing this whole experience. And it probably made it worse because I didn't feel like I found those people abroad, but I didn't know how much that would like affect me. Number 3, kind of similar, homesickness. I didn't understand what homesickness was really before I went abroad. I go to college pretty close to my family's home. I never really felt that homesickness because if I was feeling homesick, I could go home. I didn't really know what that was. And it wasn't even necessarily just missing your family. It was literally missing like the ability to get in my car and drive to Chipotle. So surface level, so dumb. But the amount of times that I would get emotional because I was craving something like a food from home, whether it was Chipotle, whether it was, I wanted chili, or like it was wintertime, so I really wanted like chicken and dumplings, or any dumb thing like that. That is really what hit me, of like, wow, I miss the things, not only the people, but the things about my home. And I miss the people too. Like, I really miss my parents, and I miss my sister, and I miss my brother, and my dogs. I really miss my dogs. But I feel like that wasn't even as bad as the homesickness for the place, the people, the environment. You were transported into an environment that is not your own, especially if you're going somewhere where you don't speak the language. You feel very isolated. It takes so much mental effort to communicate with people. And you miss the feeling of just effortless fitting in. As much as like maybe if you live somewhere and you don't really have a community, whatever, it hits different while you're abroad. I feel like I wouldn't say I super resonate with the place that I live in terms of I like where I grew up. Like, it was a good place to grow up. There are things about it that I love. There are things about it that I hate. It's not like I'm like, oh, I want to live here forever. This is my like place. But when you're in a different country that speaks a different language and the culture and like the identity of the people is different, you feel super like an outsider. I just remember walking around Paris and like I feel like everyone was judging me. I know that wasn't the case. Like, rationally, I know that, but my internal thoughts were, I felt so like out of place. Like, it made me break down multiple times over the course of like my experience because I felt so out of place, so isolated. And I'm sure people have that experience at the place they're born, at the place that they live currently before they study abroad, and study abroad fixes that for them. When you are so isolated from your friends, your family, the ability to speak to people, even just a store clerk, easily, it's so different. I don't really know how to put that into words, but like, homesickness in a different way. It's like it is missing how the place that you live makes you subconsciously feel about your identity. I don't really know, but anyways, homesickness is a con. Obviously, that's pretty obvious. The next one, again, it feels like vacation. It's not your real life. Why is this a con, you might ask? Well, this is a con because as much as that was a positive for like reinventing yourself, I didn't feel like I was at school. That's what I was there for technically, to go to school. Obviously, I wanted and did so many other things, but it made it really hard to have the motivation to do anything. School-wise, fitness-wise, eating healthy, like it didn't feel like real life. So the way that you behave on vacation is how you're gonna behave abroad. To me, that's how it went, is like I didn't keep my normal routine. I didn't do my normal things because I felt like it wasn't my real life and I didn't have to and I didn't want to and I had a different schedule and all these things. So it is really hard to adjust. The adjustment that you go on when you get there, you're going to feel like for the first 2 weeks, it's like vacation. It's so much fun. You're on a high, and then you have a dip because eventually it doesn't feel like your real life. It doesn't feel real and it doesn't feel significant, and it kind of fucks with you a little bit in the head. I've moved around so much, like not my family home, but like in college, I've had different apartments, my dorm. I had to move back into my parents' house before I studied abroad. Like, just the non-permanence of my living situation was really like felt tenfold kind of while I was abroad, because I immediately, when I moved into this apartment, like I'm leaving in 3 months. I didn't buy anything to like decorate for the most part, other than like souvenirs that I was going to bring home anyways. It felt very temporary. You felt that in the way that you were living, I think, is what was hard for me. And then the last con that I would say that I had and felt deeply during study abroad is the weather and the climate. I'm from the South. I live in North Carolina. It's 100 degrees today. It's hot as fuck. And I don't really like the heat. I always say like I like the cold. So here's the thing about that. It's not like it was unreasonably cold. The thing about it is you have to go outside. You have to go outside. If you're living in a place where there are not cars, you're not going to have a car. You are going to have public transportation. You have to stand outside for a longer amount of time than you're used to. As an American, we almost never use public transportation unless you're from New York. Even still, it's a place that you're used to. So when you go somewhere else and you're forced to kind of adapt to that weather and that climate, it's going to feel different. I literally was there. The first month I was there, February, it rained in France for 30 straight days. And I'm not kidding. The Seine flooded. It was like the longest rain they'd had in X amount of years. It was so depressing. And for your first month studying abroad, you feel like you can't go outside because it's always pouring rain. And I had to buy an umbrella really quickly. And it was kind of hard, because I studied abroad in the spring. So like we started out in winter, went into spring and summer for the semester. It was really hard to feel like you're getting the most out of your experience when you're trapped inside. And when you go to class and then you get home and it's pouring rain, I don't want to go back out. It's pouring rain. It's cold. It's 30 degrees, 20 degrees, whatever. It's pouring rain. All the things that you want to do are outside. You have to walk to get there. It's like if you were living in New York City, kind of. But at the same time, no. Because you have like, that's your home, that is where you live. So you have a comfort place, your home, you're okay with staying in, you don't always have to go out. When you're studying abroad, you feel so guilty when you're not taking advantage of the time, or at least I did. If I wasn't doing something that day, I felt so guilty because I'm paying to be here and have this experience and explore, but I'm sitting at home doing my homework like I'm supposed to be doing. Like, absolutely, that's what I'm supposed to do. But it makes you feel so guilty when you're not taking advantage of the time how you see other people take advantage of the time. There is everyday life. In between the moments that you do all these cool things, there's everyday life. And that's the period when you feel guilty about all of it. Like, all of it. Like, the weather and the climate didn't really help in terms of, it was hard to go and do things when it was 20 degrees and actually pouring down rain. And that really sucked. I'm not saying that it was, you know, like going to Antarctica and I couldn't handle the cold. If you are going to travel and you're expecting, like, I want to go to Malta or I want to go to Greece, if it's going to be 20 degrees in Greece too. It's not like the Mediterranean area is that much more warm in winter compared to where, like, France and the continent. Normally, France was warmer than Mykonos, you know? So it was like, when you're traveling during winter, which is sometimes not as fun. Now, if you really make the effort to plan and be like, okay, what winter trip are we going to do? We're going to go skiing in the Alps. I didn't do that because wholly expensive. But, you know, like, you can make the best out of it, of course. You feel more guilty about staying in because it's pouring down rain than you would if you were at home, not studying abroad, staying home because it's pouring down rain. So those are my pro and my con sections. Those are what I came up with off the top of my head. If you would like more in-depth videos about specific points of this, let me know in the comments below, because I can do like shorts or little short form style videos about specific points that I can like give you more detail or answer any questions about it. We're going to talk about my specific recommendations for Paris. If you're studying abroad in Paris, what you should do while you're there. These are off the dome because I did not write this down. I just decided to do this like just now. Like I said, went to the school at the Catholic University. One of my favorite places and the only place that I felt like I could breathe while I was there was Luxembourg Gardens. It was so close to my school and so peaceful. Even if, this is how I romanticize the cold and the rain. When it was cold and rainy, I would take my umbrella. If it wasn't like pouring down rain, like if it was misty and like sprinkling, I would go to the Luxembourg Gardens and I would listen to my audiobook and walk around and pretend like I was in that audiobook. Especially if your audiobook is set at a palace. It's a fantasy book set at a palace. That is what you need to be listening to at Luxembourg Gardens if it's rainy and cold, because it makes you feel like dark academia. You're in the palace because it's the vibe. It's so the vibe. That's my number one recommendation. If you're in that area, while you're there, go to Sikome for lunch. I'll put a picture up of like the exact place. Best sushi I've ever had. Swear to God, best sushi I've ever had. The fish is so fresh. I didn't like raw fish until I tried this place. And I'm going to be so honest, and I haven't found anything that compares to it back home. I had like 2 Japanese girls in my class at the Catholic University and they were like, the sushi here is awful. And I was like, I bet it is compared to Japan. But for me, sushi in France, so much better than in the US, like actually so much better. Sikome, my favorite place. Along those lines, there's a Lebanese restaurant, a family-owned Lebanese restaurant, like 2 doors down from Sikome. Get the chicken shawarma sandwich. Holy shit, I miss that thing so much, so much, so much. Get that sandwich, like I swear to God. Now also in that area is the Red Wheelbarrow bookstore, which is like, this is my ideal day. I go to the garden, I'm listening to my audiobook. I go get lunch, eat it in the garden. Then I go to the Red Wheelbarrow bookstore and buy a book. My ideal day. In there somewhere, I'd probably get a coffee. I didn't have a specific coffee place in that area. I did have one that I went to, but not because it was good, just because they allowed laptops. Another thing, if you're going to Paris, a lot of cafes don't allow laptops. So if you're going to study somewhere, check to see if they allow laptops on weekdays, on weekends at all. Because a lot of places do not. Just putting that out there. Obviously, you need to go to the big ones like Eiffel Tower, the Louvre. If you're going to see the Eiffel Tower and you want a good viewing spot, my favorite viewing spot was if you take the 9 train to Point Alma. It drops you off right there. You get up, you cross like 2 streets, you'll see it. You'll see the Eiffel Tower as soon as you get up. That's my favorite place to view the Eiffel Tower. It's not like right up on it. It's like probably a 15-minute walk to the Eiffel Tower from there, but it's across the Seine, and it's so beautiful across the Seine, especially at night. And along those lines, if I ever wanted to go on a walk on the Seine, I would get off at Point Alma and walk along that area because it has a very nice walking like strip on the Seine. Another thing I did a lot if I was feeling lonely or if I was feeling trapped or like not good, I would walk along the Seine. It's so nice to be near a body of water, and the Seine is amazing for that. So I would totally recommend, even if it's rainy, bring your umbrella, go on a walk along the Seine. Just breathe. Museums, obviously you need to go to the Louvre. If you have a student ID and a passport with a visa, you can get into almost all of the museums that are public museums in Paris for free. Don't slack on that. That means you can get into all of them for free, so you need to go. The Louvre, obviously, you could spend days in that place. Next would be the Petit Palais, which is free for everyone. So if you have friends visiting and they don't want to spend a lot of money, take them to the Petit Palais. Very nice. I really liked the Jardin des Tuileries. Right outside the Louvre. That's a fun one to go to and walk around if you're like in that area. Just in general, like if you're looking for a food place, do not go to the place on TikTok if you can help it. Go to a hole in the wall, little like local area, because I promise you, none of the food there is bad. You're not going to get sick. Hold my hand. You're not going to get sick if you eat something from a hole in the wall place. Any crepe place you look at on the street looks like shit. Go there. Go there. I promise it's good. I promise it's good. It's cheaper. It's the kind of food that locals will eat. Eat that. Also, ask locals for food recommendations. Ask them for recommendations on where to go. If you have a professor that is from the place that you're studying abroad, ask them about it. Ask them where they like to go. Ask them what they like to do, because I promise it's fun. If you're studying abroad in Paris and you want a fun little weekly tradition, I'm going to send you to this place called Le Village. They have music trivia every Monday night from 9 to 10. I would recommend totally having a place that you go every week and do the same thing every week at the same time. I would go get a beer, do music trivia with the people in my program. Were they my besties? No. But we did it anyway because it was something to do every week. It felt like a community. It felt like we're doing something repetitive. It's a routine. Routine is so important when you're studying abroad. So if you're studying abroad in Paris, on Monday night, go to music trivia at Le Village. It is right by the Pantheon, right up on that hill in the 5th, I believe. It's up behind there. And it's a very student-oriented kind of a bar on Monday nights with the music trivia. So I would so recommend that. I think that's all for my recommendations in terms of what I would recommend you do in Paris. There's so much more that I could probably give you, but that is what I have for you today. And that's all I could think of off the top of my head. Those were my favorite places that I went to while I was there. If you have any questions, want to talk about study abroad, want to ask me any questions about my experience, if there's anything that I missed, please let me know in the comments below. Again, this is my personal experience. This isn't true for everyone. If you went and you had a different experience than me, that's amazing. I wish you all the best, or I'm so sorry if it didn't go that good. There are so many positives and there will also be so many negatives. It's good to know both. Take all of the things I said with a grain of salt. It might not happen to you and it might happen to you. Be safe. Choose somewhere that speaks to you and have so much fun. I would say, even though you had all those cons, go. Go, go, go. I would recommend it, even if it's just for a summer program. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you would like, and please check the description to see the secret message and the question for you in the description below. Leave a comment if you would like. I love you so much. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you another Sunday or another Wednesday. Bye.